what's going on?
Holy shit, Schefter. Have you slept? It's been a long preseason weekend. I know. You look awesome right now. You look like you are in mid-season form, Schefter. How you doing?
You know, Pat, the players aren't the only ones going through drills, getting ready for the season. We just got done. A little walk, a little run, a little boxing, a little bit of everything. And so that's the way it goes sometimes, right?
Hey, I respect it. We got a long haul coming up, us and you. Football season, obviously, being here is awesome and exciting. And the green flag is currently waving on the year. Let's talk about some shit that happened over the weekend. Hollywood Brown. Okay, so he's obviously a member of the Chiefs now after being with the Cardinals. Before that, with the Ravens. Explosive. Incredible wide receiver. There to beefing up the weapons for Patrick Mahomes. He almost there was something that could have killed him that happened to him this weekend against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Am I reading this accurately, Schefter?
Stefania Bell tweeted about it, and she gave a better explanation from a medical standpoint than I could. But basically, it's a serious injury there where it's dislocated. It goes right into a dangerous area. And so they rushed him to the hospital there in Jacksonville, kept him overnight. Team flew back to Kansas City. He was discharged after doctors did what they needed to do on Sunday morning and got back to Kansas City in the afternoon. So that's all encouraging. Yeah, but those are injuries that scare you. And the Chiefs medical staff did a great job here, got him to the hospital. And it's a similar injury to the one that Tyreek Hill had when he was with the Chiefs. And ironically enough, he sustained it against ours as well. And if I remember correctly, he missed about 1 month. And I think the timeline right now, initially for Hollywood Brown would be similar, which would mean he would have a chance to be back for opening night against his old team, the Baltimore Ravens. Now, if you remember last year, Travis Kelce hurt his ankle a couple of days before the game, and they opted to hold him out of the game, got him 10 days rest, and I think he came back for week 2. So would I be shocked if something similar happened with Hollywood? No, but they want to see how he's healing before they make any decisions. I think they obviously averted the worst case here. Yeah. Not a comfortable injury, but doctors took care of it in the Jacksonville area hospital. He's back in KC now, and we'll see how he recovers here in the coming weeks.
Shout out to the training staff. Shout out to the training staff and to the doctors for making that happen. Obviously, that's what football is. There's a very large chance that damage and injury can take place. The Guardian caps that we saw during the games. The Colts, I believe, had the most. 5 players wore the Guardian caps, including Jonathan Taylor, starting running back, one of our highest paid guys. That's a big deal. We talked to Dr. Alan Sills last week. He said the players are allowed to do that if they want. We've sent the knit tops to cover up the pillows so it looks as if it is the helmet and the entirety of it. Other teams did it as well. I think Pittsburgh Steelers had a guard that was wearing one. Is this just going to become the new norm, or how many more players do you think we see this from, and what is kind of expectation you think around the league, Schefter, what you're hearing?
You know where I think this is going, Pat? I think we used to see hockey back in the day where players never wore helmets. We used to have people driving cars that never wore seatbelts. And I don't think that this is going to happen overnight, but I think eventually we're going to look back and we're going to see some of the great players in this sport have played this game with little helmets that didn't protect their brains. And you're going to see more and more people gravitating towards this because it's a safer way to play. And I know it takes a little time to get used to seeing the players like that, but already, as you said, 5 Colts were wearing them. We saw sprinkles of other players wearing them throughout the course of the weekend. And to me, it's only a matter of time before this becomes more and more regular, more and more accepted, and players recognize that it's just safer for them to be out there like that. Let me ask you this question, Pat.
Yeah.
Would you ever, if you were still playing, if you were still punting, I know it's not the exact same thing, but you played in a violent way. If you still were punting, would you consider wearing a helmet like that?
So I was talking about this actually earlier today because I appreciate the fact that the Colts are seemingly the smartest team in the entire NFL. Now, there's a lot of old school football players that are going to say, these guys are putting pillows on their heads in games. Okay, that's old school football players, but old school football players think that about everything. They're yelling at clouds for everything. I very much led with my head every time I tackled somebody. 20-something. Head, just leaning, literally torpedoing. Now, if I get called, it's a kicker getting called for personal foul, leading with the helmet. Pretty sick, actually. So, there was would I do it if I knew all the ins and outs, or if I had any head trauma, or how they, probably, especially if it was an option. I think what's going to take place, though, is now we're in a race for these helmet manufacturers to just make bigger so you don't have to put it on top of the helmet.
Yeah.
Who can make that helmet just all ready to begin with? And I think that's what Dr. Alan Sills was kind of alluding to, about how there was 5 helmets that were made in like the last year or something that are more safe than any helmet that there's ever been on the market. I forget the exact words, but the helmets are just going to get bigger, I think, where the Guardian cap on top is just going to become a part of the helmet.
Absolutely. It's obviously tough to look at now, and it's different. I remember when the Revolution helmets first came out, like Larry Fitzgerald, I believe, was like the first big-time player to wear it, and it's like, that looks weird. I will never wear that shit. But at this point, being out of the game and knowing, the after effects and concussions and all those different things, if it is the best option, like you said, helmet manufacturers would obviously make them where they just fit in. This will be ultimately the evolution of the helmets. I think when 18-game seasons come about, Guardian caps will be right behind it.
Yeah, and if you get guys like Jonathan Taylor doing it, obviously other people on the team will feel much more comfortable following suit, So I think that's a whole conversation in and of itself. Our the Guardian caps, if it keeps them safe, all good. Last question for me before the boys have a couple. Jerry Jones on a microphone before the Los Angeles Rams, Trey Lance versus Stetson Bennett battle, which was
great
game. Great game to watch. I got trapped in that game. It was very fascinating to watch that whole thing. Congrats to Stetson. Boy can ball, can't he?
Yes, he can.
He's a winner.
He's a winner.
Yeah.
He throws 4 picks. Who cares? He'll pick himself up, maybe throw a 5th.
Yep.
But then he's going to score a touchdown and win that thing. Stetson Bennett back for football from a year off. We're happy he's back in football.
Yep.
Congrats to Stetson. McVay mic'd up was sweet. Jerry Jones, before the game, though, talked about the C.D. Lamb situation. Here's what he had to say.
So we wouldn't have him out here. It has really not anything to do with his contract. Dak won't be out here this afternoon. And so the bottom line is, what it is no, there's not that urgency. Now, I understand completely the angst that's happening when you are anxious about and someone says anything about whether you're missed or not. Well, CD, you're missed, okay? But you're not missed out here competing, and it doesn't put any pressure any place on us.
So I think what he was trying today. You are missed, though, as a person. Is that what you're hearing? And how does this work out?
Well, first of all, I was very distracted by the fact that Tom Brady was in the background, so I was watching what he was doing there.
Yeah,
as he was
obviously,
interacting with
Michigan man.
Sure.
Yeah.
right in the background. But look, I think Jerry obviously was trying to make CD feel better about what he said last week because people were up in arms over the fact that he said there's no urgency to get this done when the Dallas Cowboys' best wide receiver and most dangerous offensive weapon isn't in camp, and Jerry says there's no urgency to get it done. So he took the opportunity yesterday to get in front of the mic and say he misses CD. He said, again, it's not urgent to get him out there. Basically said the same thing, but the fact that he did admit that they miss him. Now, look, here's the deal. It is hard for
you.
It is
you miss me.
Hard for me and others to imagine that they will not figure out a way to get this deal done for CD Lamb. Like, I would be floored if he's not in camp before the start of the season, and I would be floored if he missed any time. There's no way. It's just not going to happen. I don't know when they're going to get this done, whether it's this week or next week, but at some point, smarter minds are going to prevail. They're going to figure this out. He's going to get into camp. He's not going to miss any time, and CD Lamb, I expect to be there for the regular season opener, however these sides figure it out.
Okay, we can't wait for that. Dak also deal up. McCarthy also deal up. Micah wants more money. There's a lot going on in Dallas. We'll see how the season goes. Stetson beat him yesterday.
Yes, he did.
Stetson Bennett beat him yesterday. We'll see when it gets all finished out. Big news this morning out of Miami. Go ahead, D-Bug.
Yeah, I saw you put a tweet out as well. Jalen Phillips, 9 months after his big injury last year, he's been taken off of the PUP list. What's the timeline for him down there in Miami?
You know, again, I was a little surprised with that because I thought it was going to be into the season. But the fact that they took him off the list this morning and now they're going to bring him back to practice, that tells me that he's got a shot, I guess, here to be ready for the start of the regular season. He tore that Achilles almost 9 months ago. So a tremendous comeback already. We'll see how much of his explosiveness he can recapture and regain. But the fact that they activated him off that list today was a huge win. They need him to get back there. Again, they're waiting on him. They're waiting on Chubb. So they're waiting on a couple of players, but it looks like Jalen Phillips now will be back here in no time at all.
Okay, let's go to the NFC North, which might be Caleb Williams' town. Go ahead, Tosh, man.
Yeah, it could be. Shefty, we heard reports that Stephon Gilmore is visiting with the Vikings today. Any likelihood that that's going to get done sooner than later? And also, are there any other teams that he might be visiting with?
That's the first visit that he's taken, and they certainly need help at the position. And look, I don't think Stephon Gilmore is taking a visit to waste his time. Like, if he's going there, there's a chance that he's going to wind up there. They need him. They could use a player like him. And so we'll see whether or not that gets done today. I don't know that he has any other visits lined up right now. He's been talking with other teams as well. But the Vikings are the first team he visits. So, again, I think we'll give him a chance that he's going to wind up there, certainly.
Simmons is visiting too, right? This is two massive veteran secondary members here visiting people today. Is this by their choice or team's choice?
Well, you know what it is? We're in mid-August, and teams assess their roster, and they decide, okay, well, we can use upgrades. The Vikings have been looking for help at the corner position all along. You know, when I see the Falcons, when the Saints have been in on Justin Simmons for all along, I wonder, okay, do the Falcons really need another safety, or are they essentially sparring with their NFC South rival here, and they could use a player, but it certainly doesn't hurt to raise the price on the Saints a little bit if that's what it takes. So I don't know what that is, but the Falcons have him visiting today, and so we'll see if they can get something figured out with Justin Simmons.
Okay, let's stay in the NFC South. Charlie Smith, kicker out of Ireland, hits a game winner, only kick of his life in American football out of Gaelic football. Hits a 37-yard game winner for the New Orleans Saints. And obviously, we're all incredibly jacked and psyched about this. He trained with a guy named Taig. Oh, it's an Irish name. Tadgh, but I believe it's pronounced Taig Leader. And he documented his entire story, how he used to be a Gaelic football kicker, and then in August of 2023 decided he wanted to try to kick. So he's been kicking like 3-4 times a week since then, trying to learn the style of kicking American football. The NFL opened up the combine to international kickers for the first time ever. This dude goes in there, showcases himself, and then in his first game, first kick, hits a game winner. Slancha, good on you, lad. And if you keep running that, when he gets back to that sideline, the entire team loses their mind. I mean, the entire, is that the end of the video right there? So the entire, that whole crew in the back there, all those legs you see, they all come up and start celebrating with him too. Massive preseason moment that you don't normally see, the emotion and everything. I'm sure you're not on the beat of the Irish kicker, but is this guy got I mean, this is a beautiful story, and shout out to the NFL for opening the doors almost seemingly more for more talent. This is good for the game, good for everything, and Charlie, I mean, he nutted that thing.
Oh, yeah.
That thing's good from 60 if it had to, the way he was flying. Slow rotation, perfectly end over end. I mean, that ball's going. That ball is absolutely plastered in the biggest moment. First ever kick in live reps.
Crazy.
Unbelievable, Schefter.
That's pretty cool. Now, you can appreciate what he did more than I can. I can just say this, that the league loves bringing in these international players, and they've put a big emphasis on teams bringing in players like that. And having been around some of that, I think the guys, I don't know if when you were with the Colts or Darius in the NFL, you guys had some international players come in. Those guys are very popular. They're very well received in the locker room. And this guy comes in on Saturday night at Arizona, first kick in a game, and he makes the kick. And again, to your point, you see the emotion on the sideline. It's a huge moment for that guy. It'd be awesome if he could somehow win that job. And hey, listen, these international guys are getting chances now more and more. The league is trying to grow the game. They're encouraging that type of participation. And there's another example of it on Saturday night in the desert.
Hey, slancha, Charlie.
Yeah.
Slancha, Charlie, lad. Way to go. That's awesome.
Yeah.
He hit that thing pure. I mean, absolute stroke there in his head. Think about how big that moment is.
Oh, yeah.
Huge.
First ever. I'll
never forget it. I'll never forget that the rest of his life, right?
And hopefully it's just a start. Hopefully it's just a start. Just like Aubrey. Aubrey for the Cowboys last year was a soccer player. Go ahead.
It's funny. Last year I was in Cowboys camp, and they were telling me about Aubrey, and they were raving about this guy, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be interesting to watch because you hear coaches rave about players, kickers, whoever it may be all the time. Aubrey was that and more. That guy was unbelievable last year. and looks like he's one of the best kickers in the league right now.
He missed one this weekend from 64 or something, which I wasn't thrilled about because Aubrey doesn't miss.
Nope.
Like that is.
He pushed it right. He never does that,
Ever.
right? But he'll make a 64-yarder this year.
Yeah, because he hits a draw. He actually hits a draw. So, like, when he hit that thing, I'm like, okay, it's good. In the home, I think it was the Rams commentary. It was like, it's short. And I'm like, Aubrey murders the ball. These are good stories. If the kicking positions can be the positions that open up the world for the NFL, consider me pumped, brother.
Yeah.
Consider me pumped. Last question here. Speaking of the NFL, and obviously a lot of situations within it, there's a massive one. Go ahead, Connor.
Yeah, Schefter, over the weekend, the reports about Aiyuk were that now it seems likely, or at least they're working on a deal for him to stay in San Francisco. Is that what you're hearing? And then also, the Niners had to cancel joint practices with the Saints this weekend. How bad are they injured if they're already kind of being like, yeah, we don't have enough guys to field two teams?
Well, they're shorthanded at a few different spots, and so they don't want to risk anybody else going into a joints practice, so they canceled that. I understand that. The Aiyuk thing, look, this saga, and it's been a saga, has had more twists and turns over the last few months than any story that I've seen in a long time in the offseason. And this has been at a point where at one point it looked like, okay, he might get traded to Cleveland. And then it looked like, oh boy, he might get traded to New England. And then it looked like he might get traded to Pittsburgh. And now it looks like, you know what? The 49ers sit down, the two sides talk it out. And now, and we'll see where it goes, now it looks like the focus and emphasis is on keeping him in San Francisco and not trading him. But I would say that this has had many twists and turns to it. And until there's final resolution, you don't know. But the 49ers want to keep him. They don't want to trade him. They've never wanted to trade him. They've wanted to get a deal worked out with him. The deal has been elusive. The player was the one who requested the trade. The player was the one who tweeted at Mike Tomlin. The player was the one who went on with Jaden Daniels and talked about going to the command. The 49ers were not interested in doing those sorts of things. They were interested in getting a deal done because they wanted to keep the player. But when the deal became difficult to get done, when he kept demanding a trade, when other options surfaced like that, everybody's got to do what they have to do to look into it. And so they did. And nothing has worked out so far. And now they're at a point where they'd like to try to figure it out. That would be their goal, to keep him there in San Francisco, which I think really has been a goal all along, despite the fact that in a relationship, there are ups and downs with everything. And so they're trying to see if they can get this deal worked out now. And if they can, obviously, he'll be staying. And he won't be going to Cleveland or New England or Pittsburgh or any of the teams that have had conversations with the 49ers. But that would be the team's preference right now, to keep him and to get that deal worked out. And that's what they're trying to do. And we'll see if they can get it done.
That was the storyline at the very beginning of this entire thing, which we normally feel like is the most accurate, because at the very beginning of most of these stories is when the real shit is. And then there's all bunch of mumbo jumbo that you got to dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge. And that mumbo jumbo can be used by both parties to weaponize a little bit more leverage or to gain a little bit more favor in your direction for the outcome or whatever it is. So as these reports just started coming and going like so fast and so chaotic, it was like, well, they want a second and a third in 2025. The Patriots are willing to pay $32 million, but he doesn't want to go there. Cleveland wants in on the action, even though the Amari Cooper might get traded in there. No, Pittsburgh is trying to take a hometown discount, even though it's not his hometown. It's like all those things felt like, just to me, mumbo jumbo.
Sure.
That all felt like mumbo jumbo to me, in that the end result was going to be him ending up as a Niner. Did you feel at any moment it was not going to be that way? Did you feel like there was a chance he was going to go elsewhere?
Yeah, yes, but again, we've said all along that this is a very hard deal to get done because any acquiring team would have to satisfy both Brandon Aiyuk and the 49ers. And so if a team can't do both, then a deal can't get done. And so you had teams out there that could satisfy one of those conditions, but not both. And with that being the case, I think Brandon Aiyuk felt like, look, he'd like to stay in San Francisco, but he wanted to get paid. They couldn't get the deal done. Okay, let's see what else is out there. Again, he's the one that's advertised these other places. He's the one that's honestly been outspoken in the media. The other day, he was commenting about how there are leaks in the Niners. I'm just telling you, I don't think they're talking that much. I don't think they're talking that much. I really don't.
Who are the leak?
Not publicly.
Yeah, could be other teams, I guess, trying to leak. It could be the agent. I mean, there's just so many different factors that could be in
there were so many people involved, so many other teams that inevitably people know, but it's not like San Francisco's advertising that they want to move on from the guy. They've wanted to keep the guy. They just have not been able to get the deal done. And those other things, they were real, Pat. Like, those other teams were interested. But again, you got to satisfy Aiyuk and the 49ers. There wasn't a team out there, at least there hasn't been to date, that could satisfy both, that could meet the 49ers compensation and meet Ayuk's price and be a place that he was willing to go. Because once it's a place he doesn't want to go, he doesn't have to accept the deal. So that team's out. That team's out then, right?
Got it. And then Trent Williams is going to get done.
I would assume, I think their focus has been on Aiyuk, and we got a 36-year-old tackle who it doesn't matter he misses camp. I would think that they'll get that addressed and figured out and get him in. And if he misses camp, he misses some camp. But they want him back. He's so good, they have to have him back. And I would think that they want to get this Aiyuk thing taken care of before they move on to Trent Williams.
Ladies and gentlemen, senior NFL insider, the man who comes fresh out of a workout to let us know what the hell's going on.
Right. Wow.
And we can't thank him enough. Get in fighting shape, Schefty. The season's right around the corner.
Ryan,
It's just
Ryan, yeah. There you go.
24 days away.
24 days away. Ladies and gentlemen, Adam Schefter.
Yay.